Back in the game and well at the top, a king of the ring and calling my spots. I'm raising the bar to crank it a notch. I'm full of mistakes, cause life is a botch. Lights can get brighter and brighter. I walk through that curtain, my levels get higher and higher. Studied the best, in this generation I'm next. Super Kid Party, no doubt we just hit a suplex. Hooker by crook, survive if I let you.
Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of the Life's a Botch podcast. Y'all already know, man. It's your favorite Prince of Botch in the building, Dwayne, aka Highlight Reel. As you guys know me from my artistry as well when I'm not here being a podcast individual right here in front of y'all. We got a really dope guest on the show today, man. It's going to be a fun one. This is a first time, not only a first time guest, but this is a first time ever experience for my guest because of the fact that I was speaking to this brother and I literally said, you know, I have literally not talked to somebody in your position in the wrestling business yet. So I got to bring you on the show, man, because absolutely, why not, right? You know, and this brother has an amazing spirit. So we're going to get into things. But first and foremost, let me just get this out the way before we even get started. I like to, say that our show is brought to you by our number one sponsor, Champ, number one boxer briefs. Why? Because it's fit for the champ in your life. And it's basically a Black-owned business that is independent right here, based in Atlanta, Georgia, ladies and gentlemen. It is a number one top boxer brief athletic brand. To all the guys out there who know what I'm talking about, sometimes you have that uncomfortable feeling with the undergarments a little bit. Find yourself in a position where you may get a few wedgies here and there, or you're just trying to find underwear that just comfortably suits you and fits well when you're working out, or if you're just styling and profiling, you know what I'm saying? Well, Champ number one boxers has literally said, have no fear. It's giving you the best in technology for boxer briefs. Shout out to the producer of the show, my boy Derek. He is literally a representative of these guys. He's already gotten some of the product. I've gotten a chance to buy the product as well. Waiting on mine to come through so I can let you guys know from experience that this is definitely some of the most comfortable athletic style underwear that you could ever wear. Trust me when I say, and ladies, don't worry, he's got some styles for you as well. It's not just for my fellas, but of course we talking to the fellas with this one mostly because it's definitely centered for you guys to have what you need. So make sure you go to OTS Media Co. on Instagram, on Facebook, and or Twitter. Click the link in the bio. It takes you straight to Champ number one boxers, where you can head up to their website. You can see all types of athletic boxer brief styles that they have. Trust me when I say their boxer briefs have dope themes. My favorite and Derek's favorite is the Jamaican style theme that they got there. Shout out to my people with Jamaican roots. And yeah, man, like I said, it's tons of brands. He even has some actual merch and apparel, so you can get some number one Champ boxer sliders, get some number one Champ boxers style shirts to style, for my fashionable fashion people out there. If you want to style your boxers with a number one Champ boxer shirt, you can do that. He's got bundle deals and everything for you. So make sure you head to OTS Media Co. Click the link in the bio, look up Champ number one boxers, and trust me, you will not be disappointed. All right. That being said, now that we got all the sponsorship out the way, ladies and gentlemen, today is a very dope episode, and I want to introduce my guest on today. Y'all know I'm the king of the intros. I do what I can, man. I try to give y'all some really dope introductions as much as humanly possible in the most charismatic way as possible too. So this brother I met, actually I had the pleasure of meeting him at the Battle Slam Atlanta event, where I found out he was not only a guest of the night, but he was actually a commentator of the night as well, a color commentator, y'all. Yeah, that's right. You heard it right. I got my first color commentator right here as a guest on the show, man, because I said, we've had referees on the show, we've had wrestlers on the show, we've had ring announcers on the show, but yet have we ever had color commentators? Y'all know what I'm talking about. You watch wrestling, and wrestling is not complete without the commentator. You got to have somebody commentating the action with personality like yours truly right here, and this gentleman right here. You know what I'm saying? You got to get somebody to give it to you one-on-one with the fact of what you're watching, so you can actually understand what you're watching and why you're watching it, right? Perfect. So, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, I met this brother. He is a very suave brother. Not only is he clean when he needs to be, you know what I'm saying? Get you with the suit action, got the dreads, got the smile to match. I'm telling you, this brother is definitely one of a kind, man. He color commentates for a lot of different promotions and a lot of different things, as well as does some really dope work outside of the ring, which we're all going to get into on tonight's episode. So without further ado, allow me to introduce my guest of this evening. He is the one, the only, Mr. Gerard. I said it. I botched the name because that's what I do on Life's Botch. I botch sometimes. That's the whole point. See, I knew I was going to say Gerald, and I was like, there's no L in the name. Gerard, ladies and gentlemen. Let me introduce to y'all real smoothly, Mr. Gerard Bonner. How you doing, sir?
Man, I am great. How are you?
Man, I am feeling amazing, my brother. It is so
Awesome.
great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for coming on with us tonight, man.
Thank you for having me. I didn't know I was your first commentator. That's pretty awesome.
Man, I'm telling you, yeah, like it's crazy. You know, I never really thought I try to cover all lanes in pro wrestling, man. You know, when I started this show back in late 2019, man, honestly, this was something I did where I wanted to give you know, the aspect of, hence the title, Life's a Botch, you know, because as you can see from botching the name at first, I was like, hey, life is a botch when we do these things. You know, we see wrestlers botch moves all the time, but we see, as you can tell from experience as a commentators a botch a call from time to time. You know what I'm saying? Try to cover it up smooth. Everybody's going to botch in the wrestling business, but not even just in the wrestling business. In life, we all botch in some type of way. We're going to make a mistake. And it's not about how you botched or why you did it. It's the fact that you did it. You learn from it and you move on, baby. So that's why this platform is here. And we'd like to welcome you right here to the Life's a Botch platform, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Absolutely, man. So here, you know, this is my first segment of the show. We're going to start off and we're going to go into it real smooth here. This is the Put Me Over segment. So in this Put Me Over segment, we basically talk about the guests. We talk about why you're here, what brought you here, what got you into where you're at, and you know, get to know, you know, you and who it is, the character and the person. And so that way people get to know you that don't already know about you already. So go ahead and let's ask, who is Gerard Bonner?
Wow, that's a fun question. Well, I don't know how far back we'll go, but certainly I'm originally from a little town called Monticello, New York, which most people haven't really heard of. So when I went to college, I would start describing it as Monticello, 90 miles northwest of New York City, because I'd have to answer it that way all the time. But yeah, grew up in the state of New York, and fun times, very small place. In fact, Monticello is not a city. It is actually known as a village. It is literally the village of Monticello. It's that small. So in wrestling terms, I grew up in WWE country for sure, because the Northeast was heavy WWE, Madison Square Garden, kind of the home away from home for WWE. And always loved wrestling growing up as a kid, like literally like probably third generation wrestling fan. As my grandfather would take me to the matches, and then my dad and that type of thing. So it was really cool. Ended up going to college at Virginia Union University, HBCU. Shout out to the Panthers there. I got to represent. Absolutely. So that was a fun time. Most people don't know this. Well, if you know me well enough, you'll learn that I'm a math major, which is what kind of shocks people. Like, oh, really? Yeah. I'm a math major who happened to end up being the associate editor of the school newspaper, who also is a music guy. Yeah. So it's a real fun combination, putting all those things together. And so went to college at, as I said, Virginia Union in Richmond, Virginia, and graduated as valedictorian, 4.0 GPA, which they tell me was the first time in 50 years anybody had done that. So that's kind of cool.
Look at that.
Yeah. So, you know, there's that. Ended up migrating out to the Virginia Beach area. Shout out to 757, and was out there.
Come on, that's my hometown, baby. That's one of my hometowns. Yeah.
Where?
Yeah. So, all right. So, quick fun fact about your boy, your host. I mean, a lot of people don't even know that. I haven't really had this chance to sharing that, but yes, I'm a Navy kid. You know what I'm saying? I'm a Navy baby. So, literally, when I say from Virginia Beach, I'm talking right off the coast of the beach, straight off the naval bases, man.
Yes.
I was born in Memphis, Tennessee,
Okay.
immediately straight relocated right to Virginia Beach, Virginia. Unfortunately,
Nice.
I didn't get to spend my whole life, maybe like my first few years of my life
Okay.
there,
Okay.
before relocating down here to Atlanta and then
Yeah.
back and forth between there and Memphis. But Virginia Beach has always had a place in my heart because it is a home. I classify it as home. Social
Sure.
Security is based out of there and everything, baby.
Yeah.
So 757, I got love for y'all out there. You already know what's up.
Absolutely. Love the 757. Did a lot of fun things there. And then in 2016, moved to Atlanta, which really I think is one of the best moves I've ever made.
Come on.
And so absolutely love being in Atlanta. And it has really opened up a whole new world for me in terms of being able to be involved in other things in the world of music
Mhm.
and wrestling and other things. So yeah, that's the short version. It's the short. I don't know if I gave you all you wanted, but it's a super
Man,
short version.
shoot, you gave me enough to definitely be satisfied and love what I was hearing there, brother. I mean, personally, that right there, that's a heck of a resume, if I do say so
Wow.
myself. And like you said, quite the combination.
Yeah.
Being a math major, I don't know. We might have to see if we can pull up some stats here on the wrestling world and see if we can get our math major going right here. Test those
Yeah.
math skills some. But let's see, man. So that's awesome. Now, speaking of music, we see
Mhm.
you in the back, representing in the background for all my visual watchers that watch this
Yes.
visually. We see that you got the promotion going on there in the background. We'll get
Mhm.
into a little bit more about that. But
Yeah.
as a music guy, we see you got Bonnerfide Radio. So
Yes.
tell us a little bit about how you got that created and how that came about.
For sure. So, Bonnerfide Radio, an internet radio station that I began back in 2009. To go into that, I got to go back a little bit further. I'm going to go way, way back. Let me go back to 1997. I'm
Ooh,
dating myself there.
what a great
90,
year.
a great year. Oh my God, great year. 1997, connected with some dear friends from across the country
Mhm.
to do something that hadn't been done in music yet, particularly in the faith-based movement, where there had not been much representation for gospel music, gospel news, or anything like that on the internet in 97. So we
Mhm.
started this website called gospelflavor.com. And that was really kind of the leading news website for faith-based entertainment and all of that type of stuff. So that was really cool. That led to my career in radio,
Mhm.
where in 2004 in Virginia Beach, I ended up joining a station called Rejoice 100.9. And I was there doing kind of their music and entertainment segment.
Mhm.
The first day it was supposed to be 15 minutes, it turned to 2 hours.
Ooh.
That's only because people kept calling in and we moved into discussion and all that jazz.
Mhm.
So that ultimately led to me actually becoming a co-host on the morning show on that station, where we won a couple of stellar awards, which was really, really cool.
Hey.
And then in 2009, I ended up going to start my own station with Bonnerfide Radio. And it was kind of, again, a really forward thinking move in the faith-based community. And it was really different because we didn't just do faith-based music. We did a bit of everything. So I wanted to kind of have a safe space where people could come, because the one thing I know about people is you don't listen primarily to one genre of music.
Mhm.
Depending upon your space in life and what you're doing, you might work out to one thing, you might need inspiration for something else, you might need tracks for love, you need all of it. And I wanted to be that space where you could laugh, you could love, you could learn all in the same space. So it was a normal thing on our station to hear anything from Kirk Franklin to Lecrae to Kendrick Lamar
Mhm.
to, I mean, like it was that kind of eclectic thing, and it drew a lot of music lovers. And so we were I mean, we had so much fun connecting with all kinds of people from all over the place. So, from your Lettuceys to Avery Sunshines to Faith Evans and Kirk Franklin, and like it was crazy. It was really, really crazy. And so I have loved that space. It gave us opportunity to connect with some folks from the UK and do shows literally around the world. We've won some awards over time, all that fun stuff. But that's Bonafide Radio. That's my baby. And I have loved all that we've been able to create with that station, which has led to some new opportunities.
Yeah.
I'm working now with a station called SoFlo Radio,
Okay.
which is now distributed on iHeartRadio, Amazon Alexa, Live 365, like all these crazy places,
Yeah.
specific to Christian hip hop. So your Lecrae's, your Andy Minios, NF, Indie Tribe, all that jazz.
Come on.
I get to really rock with that side of things right now, which is a lot of fun. Like I
Yes.
love the music element, and it's funny because, and we'll get into this at some point, but I sort of
Mhm.
sort of took a small break from the world of music to concentrate on things developing in wrestling, and it was somewhat intentional, so that people could see that side of me, because so many knew the music side that
Yeah.
they weren't, really up on what was about to happen in wrestling. So it was kind of taking time away to be able to now be able to do both, and people can be fully immersed on either side of whatever you get from me. So yeah.
Man, that is so amazing to hear too. To like completely honest, it sounds like a similar path. I find
Sure.
myself in that same path that you just mentioned, being the
Wow.
fact that I started off like artist first,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Christian,
Yeah.
faith-based artist,
Sweet.
like to be in that lane for so long. Wrestling was kind of like similar to me. It was one of those things I grew up,
Yeah.
watching, keeping up with, and it's always been there,
Yeah.
and not having a way to really fulfill both, was always kind of
Sure.
kind of weird. And I've been in this transition now where I've like kind of started with this podcast, and
Yeah.
it's developing into some other things
Yeah.
that are around wrestling and merging music and wrestling together. But yet
Mm-hmm.
it's cool because right just before the pandemic year in that late 2019, as we mentioned earlier in the show, like that's kind of where it was like wrestling was nagging at me a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
man,
Yeah.
there's still a part of me wants to get into this lane a little bit. And I was
Sure.
listening to all these other podcasts. Shout out to my Jobber Tears crew. We had them on the show.
Yes.
Y'all know who we talking about.
Yeah.
Shout out to just Dirty Heels, like so many other dope
Mm-hmm.
podcasts out there. Wrestling Inc. podcast. Everybody's just been out there that have inspired me to really kind of get into this lane. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, we're gonna do this, So shout out to my guy Derek, owner of OTS, that platforms the platform, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
when I came to him, like, hey, let's do some wrestling, let me be a wrestling media guy. And he's like,
Mm-hmm.
all right, cool, let's get you a shot. And then boom, it just took off from there. So
Awesome.
all of that to come full circle to say, like, meeting you, I definitely could tell that from getting a chance to do some research on what you had going. And I'm like, yeah, this brother's definitely deeper than wrestling. And I really
Wow.
appreciate
Thank
that.
you, man. I appreciate it.
I peeped that, and I was like,
Yeah.
I like it. Your story already is definitely intriguing a lot of people. So we'll get more into Bonnerfide for sure.
Sure.
But that's basically a way to put you over, get you
Appreciate it.
set.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and just get right on into it some more, man. And let's talk a little wrestling, man. So you grew up, as you said, well, actually, real quick to talk about that village that you come from, that
Uh-huh.
village. They say it
Yeah.
takes a village to raise a child.
Absolutely.
So would wrestling be a part of that village that raised you as a child, or
Absolutely. I mean, wrestling, it's so funny. I have been literally, wrestling has defined my life.
Mhm.
It really, really has. It's one of those things that has always been there, that I've always loved unapologetically.
Mhm.
And for those people, because it's weird, there are people who will try to make you separate it, right? Like, you can't do this and that. And I'm a firm believer, I absolutely can do this and that. There's no reason why I can't. So, for me, wrestling has always been there. Again, early memories with my grandfather, watching wrestling, going to matches, having that kind of live experience, and then being able to experience that with my dad. And then here's a funny story. The day I graduated from Virginia Union, right?
Mhm.
That that was it a Saturday or Sunday? I think it was a Saturday. It was a Saturday, because then that Sunday, the next day, we went to a pay-per-view.
Oh.
That was just it was one of those things,
Wow.
so that's kind of us as a family. And so wrestling has always been a massive part. And so I was fortunate enough to kind of experience territory days and then kind of watch the boom of wrestling, from the first WrestleMania to obviously the advent of pay-per-view, and then we get to the Monday Night Wars and
Come
all
on.
that jazz. Living through all of that
Yeah.
is a special space because you really can pull from a lot of that. So for me, yeah, man, wrestling all day, every day,
Come
twice on
on.
Sunday. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
love that. I love that
Yeah.
really. Twice on Sunday for sure,
Oh
man.
yeah.
It was
Oh
like
yeah.
I love those days where you can get a double dose. You got to church on a Sunday. You
Oh
got to come
yeah.
home with the family, kick back, catch a good pay-per-view, and just
Oh
chill.
yeah.
You know,
Oh
like
yeah.
those were like some of the best Sundays ever, man. I
For
promise you.
sure.
And in my case, it was like because of how young I started out, right around that Monday Night Wars era, it was like you
Mm-hmm.
watch that, you get up, it's time to go to school the next morning and talk about it with the
Right.
so it's like,
Right.
so like those were like the best times. I would never take any of those times away. So,
Totally.
that being said, that is good. So you got a good dose of generations and eras in your book.
Yes.
Again, without revealing age, we're not gonna do that around here. Now we're not gonna let that be.
All
We're gonna
good.
let y'all figure that out for your own selves. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because honestly, you look young to me, brother. So
Well,
I'm
thank you. I
I'm not even gonna
appreciate it.
do that. But the fact is, let's get into it, man. Did you have any like? Well, okay, we're gonna stick in the bag. Normally with the
Okay.
wrestlers, I tend to ask like wrestling influences. So let me
Sure.
go into the commentating bag because we got a
Okay.
commentator on our hands
Yeah.
here. So
Yeah.
how did who are your inspirational commentator figures that really jumped out to you over the years? Like who were the ones that
Yeah.
made you say, now if I ever got into this,
Mm-hmm.
this is a personality I could take from. I kind of like this guy and that guy, or even this
Yeah.
girl, because we got girls in the fray nowadays.
Absolutely.
So like, talk to the people, man. Where you
So
get that?
I think there are eras for commentators. And I say that because each era had a different sound.
Mm-hmm.
So, my earliest eras, some people may not even remember Vince McMahon, the commentator.
Ooh, good
But
one.
Vince McMahon, the commentator,
Mhm.
was pretty serious.
Yeah.
Like when I would think of all the WWE voices, and this is before we all knew Vince was the owner.
Mhm.
Vince is the commentator, was the voice. Everybody
Mhm.
else was kind of, it was like, okay, yeah, all right, but I want to hear what Vince has to say. So that was
Come
one of
on.
my earliest influences. I loved the way that Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan worked off of each other. They
Ooh.
were such a great combination. And that's when we really started seeing how you could have the serious commentator
Mhm.
and both the playful and heel commentator playing off of each other.
Mhm.
I credit Gorilla Monsoon for expanding my vocabulary
Mhm.
because there were words I would learn from Gorilla Monsoon that would end up becoming part of my vocabulary, or certain sayings and phrases, the whole irresistible force against the immovable object. That's a whole Gorilla Monsoon thing, which it's just
Yes.
like, wow. And these iconic kinds of calls. As we start progressing, uh, I love Tony Schiavone in the NWA.
Come on.
He, again, you talk about iconic voices. As Vince was the early iconic voice for WWE, Tony Schiavone was the voice for the NWA and WCW. When
Mhm.
you heard Tony Schiavone's voice, something serious is about to happen. This is official. And I think as I watched a Tony Schiavone, and then we get into a Jim Ross, and people forget that before the AEW days, they worked together, in the old NWA into WCW. When
Mhm.
you heard those guys, you knew it was something big happening. The way they would talk about things, I love Jim Ross. He was the one that always brought the history of the wrestlers in. He would
Mhm.
tell us where they went to college. He would tell us what position they played if they played football. He would tell us all of that kind of history. And that history begins building a story for why you, as the viewer, should actually take this person seriously.
Mhm.
Sure, they're a big person, but wow, they did this in college, and wow, they were a Heisman Trophy winner, and wow, So when you start understanding all of that, it really starts now painting a picture in your head as to why they're important. So, Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, Gorilla Monsoon, Vince McMahon, and then as we start getting into the world of modern commentary, I'm a massive fan of Mauro Ranallo.
Ooh, come on,
OMG. Let me tell you
man.
what I love about Mauro.
Let's go.
Mauro's the guy who, first of all, knew every move in the book.
Yeah.
But he found a way to balance it with pop culture. And the way he would break out with these analogies, I literally would sit and go, how'd you think of that?
Mm-hmm.
Or literally something would happen yesterday on social media. He would work it into his call today. And I'm like, he said something lasted longer than a TikTok video. And I was like, dude, it's that kind of stuff. So for me, those guys, that's it. I mean, I love them. I'm loving what Corey Graves is doing right now.
Yeah.
I think in a world where you don't have the super intelligent heel, he's that. And gosh, it's great. So my love for commentary, I love a lot of folks who are doing it, but those are the guys who I've really been paying attention a lot to in terms of gleaning from, learning from, and being inspired by.
I love that. Those are really great inspirations and people to pick brains from, you know what I'm saying, and kind of analyze and really pay attention, because much like it is important for a wrestler when they're studying a wrestler's move set or the character of this wrestler or that wrestler from different eras. It's just as important for people who take commentary just as serious, because you can see where, maybe a Corey Graves who, they talk about the Graves family and how, intelligent they are in the wrestling world anyway. So like to see that he's done his research and he's seen a lot of the, Gorilla Monsoons and the Jim Rosses, and he's been able to study from what they got and then develop his own sense of commentary, you know what I'm saying? Especially to go from a retired wrestler who, couldn't wrestle anymore and do what he loved and still take what he loved and use his mind. Someone that I really always admired myself was always Taz. Taz was definitely one of my favorites because I love the way he would like break it down for you literally. Like, move by move, especially if it came to like his art style when it comes to him being the suplex machine. I almost said assassin. Shout out to my boy Alex Kane, but like to be a suplex, specialist and just be able to break down any suplex or any waist lock that somebody does, any type of takedown, to be able to like literally sit there and be like, oh yeah, this was that. And to really do that, you got to apply your arms, and you got to use your core strength to do this. It was just those type of things where you're like, man, this is really cool. And the dynamic growing up watching SmackDown with him and Michael Cole, you know what I'm saying? Like that to me was always like the best duo, man. They made it, for that ruthless aggression era, for them to carry that like that. And man, it was just always making matches must see and definitely must hear with that type of commentary. So I like those. I like those a lot. That's a very, very great bag of inspirations to pull into. So tell the people like now that we've heard a little bit about your influences, how did you find yourself? I mean, anybody that hears your voice right now, they're definitely not surprised you're a commentator. They can tell that you run your own radio station, everything. They can tell all these things because they say immediately, hey, this guy definitely has a radio type of voice. He's got that sound. So how did you, naturally find yourself? I know you mentioned being a editor of a newspaper and things like that back in the day. So how did that transition, being able to be a color commentator in the pro wrestling business?
It's funny. I realized that all of my life experiences really worked together to lead me to that point. So going to my love for radio, which started as a kid, I loved radio. I was the kid in 6th grade trying out to do the PA announcements, right? That was me. And I loved doing that. I like that behind the scenes. I like the voices. I love that type of thing. So that's really where I've been my entire life,
Mhm.
depending upon whatever it was I was doing. And so when it came time to do commentary, which the story of even how I got into commentary is crazy, I have to tell you that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I realized in that moment that all of the things that I've been doing, starting the podcast, doing the radio station, all of those things
Mhm.
had been preparing me for that particular moment. And so the
Mhm.
way the commentary thing happened is just crazy. I first have to shout out my wife,
Mhm.
because here's how that story started. For a birthday gift one year, 2018, she
Mhm.
got me a Groupon, a 10 pass Groupon to DDPY, which is DDP yoga.
Yes.
Now, someone asked, where does that have anything to do with it? Let me explain. So I finally took her up on that in February of 2019.
Mhm.
Went to DDPY. Everybody thinks when you go there, you're going to see Diamond Dallas Page. But what I found is that I actually loved DDP yoga. I never got to train with him at all. But the people that were there were incredible people.
Mhm.
And while I was there, I saw one day on the wall the AEW sign. Now, again, 2019, they didn't officially launch. They had their first press conference in January 2019.
Mhm.
Double or Nothing was coming in May as their first event. So
Mhm.
this is like March or April. And I'm like, this is interesting.
Mhm.
And so, I then started just kind of asking around and found out that some of the guys there at DDPY also were running their own wrestling promotion. And the promotion was called Southern Honor Wrestling.
Okay.
So I started asking questions like, hey, I'd love to be involved at some point, but didn't know how. I had planned to be at the May show, but I couldn't because my son was going to be born. And the last thing I wanted was to
Yeah.
be at a wrestling match when my son is born. It wasn't going to go over well.
Yeah.
I knew that.
Smart
So,
move.
yeah, exactly. So I ended up missing the night when Jericho and Omega and all those guys invaded SHW. I was just like, great. I missed that. Crazy.
Wow.
But the time would come around. I went to my first SHW match in September.
Mhm.
And when I went, I just was amazed by what I saw. I didn't know who I was going to be seeing in the ring, but by match 2, they had me hooked. And
Ooh.
shout out to David Ali, because it was his match that got me hooked. And I was just like, whoa. So they run their show first Friday of every month. September, October, November show, I noticed there was only one guy in the commentary booth. So I met the commentator. Shout out Brandon Benefield, who has become my ace, my guy. And I told him, I said, hey, listen, if you ever need anybody to come fill in, I'd be more than happy to help.
Mhm.
And he was just like, oh, okay, yeah. And I thought it was giving me that good convention talk, when yeah, sure, sure. So, okay, fine. So come the December show, I'd already bought my ticket, was planning to be there,
Mhm.
and had a really rough day that day. So I was just like, let me go to the show, just kind of ease my mind. Got
Mhm.
to the show at 7:30. Show starts at 8.
Mhm.
7:30, I go to walk through the door. The booker, Dylan Freimeyer, shout out to Dylan, meets me at the door. And he says, we've been trying to get a hold of you all day. And I was like, huh? What do you mean by you've been trying to get a hold of me? He says, yes, we've been trying to get a hold of you all day. Do you want to do commentary tonight?
Ooh.
I said yes before I could get scared. I said yes so fast, it was a knee-jerk reaction. And then I'm like, wait, I'm not dressed for this. I don't even know if I remember the card. Like, what am I doing? And
Mhm.
so they whisk me away. I go to his car, follow him. I text my guys. Shout out to my brothers from the faction, Courtney Beard, Brandon Clack, John Murray,
Come
my
on.
guys. So I'm like, guys, this is really about to happen. And
Yeah.
so I go in, I meet with Gary Lamb. Shout out to Gary. And, I'm now sitting in the seat next to Brandon 15 minutes before the show. And Gary issues these epic words to me. He says, hey, listen, if this goes well tonight, the job's yours. so don't suck.
Come on.
Geesh, thanks. So I hear Eminem in my head. You only get one shot, right?
One shot.
And
Come
so
on.
for me, my thought is if I've got one shot, I'm going to make the most of this one shot. And so did match one, and Brandon leans over and he's like, oh, I think we got something. We immediately clicked. We immediately gelled, got the job that night. And I've been in the world of commentary ever since.
Man, talk about meant to be, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like right place, right time. And as we say, in the faith-based world, you know what I'm saying? Right on time, always.
Well, and let me go there. I think we can never deny the power of divine appointments.
Come on.
I think what happens to us a lot of times is we just think things randomly happen. But, I'm a believer that everything that happens, God prepares us for. And if we're following him, he's going to lead us in that path where we end up at the right place, sometimes without even trying. I can't tell you how many times I was trying to figure out, how do I apply here? I don't know how to get in.
Yeah.
Like the world of wrestling, it's not one of those spaces where, it's gotten a bit better now in terms of if you want to be a wrestler, but if you want to be a commentator, like there's no real way to get in. There's not a school you go to. There's not, nobody's holding open casting calls for commentators.
Yeah.
So it really had to be a scenario where God opened a door. And I genuinely believe he did that. And everything changed after that. And so it's one of those things where, if it's something that you really want, you have to always prepare for it. Yes. You cannot wait to get ready, because when you get there, there's no time to get ready. You have to be ready, and when you get there, don't suck.
Wise words. I mean, you can't get more simpler than that, right? Like in any profession.
Gary is going to love the fact that I quoted him in a podcast. But I mean, it's really one of those things where you have to put your best foot forward, because you don't get a second chance. Mm-hmm. And that could have literally been a guest spot. Yeah. And it turned into being something where, 2.5 years later, I'm there, and it's led to some other opportunities, which we'll probably talk about. So yeah, you got to be ready and be open, ready to go through the open door. That's the key.
Honestly, there's no better way to put that. A better way to even really just add emphasis of what you say about getting ready and trying to, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. So when you stay ready, get ready, people. You know what I'm saying? You're good. You're good. Totally. Stay ready and don't suck. That's a way of putting them together.
Most eloquent thing I've said on a podcast.
Come on now. Come on. And I'm a firm believer of that myself, man. That's why, this podcast is literally the reason for that. The doors it's open, the connections it's made so far. And even to have a guest like yourself on where, for off-air conversations, you just never know what these type of things lead to. But so many wrestlers have just been impressed by the personality, the charisma, and like, man, hey, we need you out here hyping us up. And I'm like, just more little signs to say to myself, okay, there's something here. And I need to tap deeper into this thing, because believe me when I say that it's just waiting, and the door is going to open itself up as I continue to do this. So the example of stories like yours signify to anybody out there listening, regardless of any type of profession you want to get in. Maybe it's wrestling, maybe it's music, maybe it's, any type of creative entrepreneurial trait, or independent contractor type of job, or, just working for yourself in general, regardless of the skill set. Like, it's going to be there for you, but you got to stay prepared and you got to stay ready and don't suck. I mean, I feel like that's a reoccurring theme we're probably going to say throughout the episode, is just make sure you stay ready and don't suck. Like it just seems like it's one of those type of things, and now I'm noticing on the shirt there, let's talk a little bit about the shirt, keeping that, millions, billions, trillions. So I'm assuming, while we're on the subject of opening doors and the, firm believers here of what God can do, I'm assuming this is a way of claiming what's on the horizon here. Starting off with the millions to then
Yeah.
turn into a billion, and
Yeah.
then trillionaire, where you got so much money you can't help but bless everybody because you just got too much to have for yourself, right?
Yeah.
What's the inspiration behind the shirt there?
Well, I got to shout out my guy, Travis Malloy, who oddly enough, I met as an artist working at Bonnerfide Radio. He says I gave him one of his first opportunities, which I appreciate. But as I've watched him build this particular brand, it has been something incredible that has revolutionized his life and urban culture with a simple idea. And it's got a lot to do with mindset. You can't really have better until you begin to think better. For those in the faith-based community, you're familiar with the scripture that says, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. And so you can't possibly live high if you're thinking low. So your thinking has to begin to change, and then it really begins to direct your opportunities. And I'm a believer that exposure breeds expectations. It's really hard to expect more if you haven't been exposed to more. So that's where you've got to start changing your environment, getting in some different spaces, getting exposed to some different things so you can see, hey, the world is a bit different than what I'm currently accustomed to. The world was bigger than the village of Monticello for me. So it was like, you don't know that till you go to New York City. You don't know that until you go to some other spaces and you realize, oh no, there's a whole lot more than just the main street called Broadway. So yeah, let me get out of here and go after what's in the world. And so that's really what this shirt is about. And I'll have to tell you, I got my own merch, which I'll tell you about before we leave. But shout out to Travis Malloy. I had to rep him on this show because I love that dude and I love his movement. And check out all the things that he's doing. Just go follow him, Travis Malloy, and just a lot of great stuff. Yeah.
I love hearing that. I got a shameless plug for myself, man. Shout out to Made for Christ. I'm always repping my family out here in Atlanta, man. And they're just local community guys in the Atlanta area, man, always out here doing stuff in the community, but also just letting you know that we are made for Christ. We are made and definitely equipped, hence the word made, ladies and gentlemen. So always make sure you go look up Made for Christ. That's Made for Christ with the number 4. Check them out. Trust me when I say just like that, man. It's always good to put people on when they're out here doing great things for the community, especially on a faith-based mindset. So, just a quick shameless plug to put over that, that crew over there that I like so much, man. But
awesome.
Yeah, we here, so I got a little something that we're gonna do. We're gonna do something real different.
Let's go.
This is something unique. I'm always doing something different on the show in some kind of way. And this actually just came off the fly since you're my first commentator to ever join the show. So that in the future, if I do this with other commentators, I know that I can do something like this if the fans and the listeners out there of the show actually like this. Now, I'm gonna let y'all know if you're listening to the audio version, well, you're just going to have to study it based off what you hear and not what you see, but based off the audio that'll play of what I'm going to play in the video, you could just possibly pull up the video and then take his commentary to this video and apply that to study if you want, if you're looking to be an aspiring commentator. Because I know you mentioned that there's no school exactly for what we do. So that being said, what better way than to give them a quick sample crash course? Do I have a segment name for this? Not quite just yet, y'all, but I'll come up with one because y'all know I'm good with that off the fly. So, Mr. Bonner, Mr. Bonner, if you will, we're going to pull up a video. And I want you to literally demonstrate the art of commentary, color commentary, to those out there who, really want to study this harder and really get into it, how to break something down in so many ways that people wouldn't even think to notice or break it down from your commentary experience. Would you like to be doing that?
Okay, sure. Let me just make sure I understand what you want me to do. So you want me to just kind of talk about what I would pull out of that? Or
like it'll be like a clip, it's going to be a famous clip we all know about, actually. Some people have probably been tired of it by now, but I'm only pulling this up because it's a good little sample clip to use. So I want you to, now here's the cool thing about this. You can come at this. You come off like me. You come off like a natural baby face here. So I'm gonna assume you'll likely go the baby face route here. But just explain. Put your personality into it, however you want to do it as a color commentator. But take anything that you've installed in your arsenal of commentating, apply it to this video, and just demonstrate how a color commentator will commentate something they're literally looking at. So let me see if we can get the screen up here. Let's see. Let me see. I'm gonna pull the video up. We already got it. All right. And make sure it shares the sound. All right. So actually, do I want to share the sound? No, you know what? I won't share the sound for this because we're actually just going to let you comment. Well, no, actually, you know what? I'm going to do it where I share it with the sound and then we'll let it not share the sound. Okay. So as you can see here, we got a very, very interesting video right here that everybody remembers. Everybody knows very well. So, Mr. Gerard Bonner, what we would like for you to do is commentate everything that we are seeing right in the midst of this, and then I'll replay it with a muted aspect so that this is for my audio listeners because they won't be able to see the video, so they'll hear what's being commentated on, so that way they have an idea. So let's get into it.
You know who's got the hardest job tonight? Javier Bardem and his wife are both nominated. Now, if she loses, he can't win. He is praying that Will Smith wins. Like, please, Lord. Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
Wow, dude.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
I'm going to, okay?
Okay. So we have the joke that everybody is obviously by now probably also over. But really quickly, so Mr. Bonner, what I want to do here with you is I want to execute. What exactly is it here that we are witnessing from a color commentator's perspective when we see what we see here? Let me rewind here like an instant replayer would do. And you tell me, good sir, tell the people what it is that we're witnessing here and why we're witnessing it the way we're witnessing it here.
Okay. Well, obviously we're seeing here Chris Rock is doing what Chris Rock does. He is clearly on the stage making lots of jokes. And at this point, things aren't exactly going according to plan. It looks like Will Smith is coming up to greet him, but wow, that is not a greeting. That's a full-on slap. That's,
full-on slap, right? You know?
Something tells me that that's not supposed to happen.
Exactly. And so here we are, in a live aspect, right? And here we are at the Oscars where, obviously there's no commentary as we can see. So in the life of a commentator in a live situation where something isn't necessarily in the script, as they say, not planned, something that wasn't really, went off script a bit, in the most professional manner, how are you executing what you see in a way that is, catering to the people who literally watch this? Like, was that supposed to happen or what just happened?
So here's something interesting. In a scenario like this, I would consider it to be a promo of sorts. And so in a promo, part of my job is to lay low and let the guys in the ring that are talking tell that particular story until we get to a point where either there's some physical action or there's something that needs to be described. So I think once we get to the point where Will actually slaps Chris Rock,
Mhm.
I think initially, and part of what would be brilliant, I think, in this moment is to have that space of ambiguity that everybody's feeling. Part of what I like to do as a commentator is to do it from a fan's perspective. So, what did we just see here? Would
Yeah.
be my initial call. Like, why in the world did Will slap Chris Rock? And this is not that kind of a space for that. So what's happened? So literally in my world, we'd probably end up going to like commercial break. We'd come back and have then a full discussion on this with replay and everything because the people would have questions. And my job is to, okay, let's raise the questions that you have. Let's kind of build off of the information that either is presented to us or information we could find. So in a commercial break of sorts, I'm a big research guy. So I would be research, and I'll tell you what I actually did that night. That night, you know, I'm sitting watching it, and my wife and I were like, what just happened? Did that really happen? You know? And then it came to, why did this happen? Is there something going on? And so, you know, we were wondering, well, is there a movie coming out? Are they trying to promote something? And then there came the understanding of the whole alopecia. And then there was the understanding of the relationship between Chris Rock and, you know, Jada Pinkett Smith. And so then we start raising all of these questions. And in a commentary space, those are the kinds of things that we'd start building off of after the commercial break. But in a moment like that, my job isn't to necessarily talk over that. My job is to let them tell that story. And then after, and sometimes silence says more than words. You kind of have to know when to speak and when not to speak. And what I found is in moments where we aren't speaking, which if they are rare moments, then you really know, okay, something just happened, you know, because if I am dumbfounded and I'm lost for words, then whoa, you know. So I'll tell you one of my commentary secrets, which I don't normally tell secrets, but whatever. Here's your exclusive.
Okay. You know, he freebie for this one. It's okay.
One of my secrets is actually a lesson I learned from Jim Ross, which is I do not like to know what's going to happen. In all of the spaces I'm in SHW, they know this. Do not tell Gerard what the plan is. I don't want to know. If there's a run sheet, I don't want to see it. I don't want any of it, because for me, my reactions need to be authentic. I need to be authentically surprised. I need to be authentically excited. I don't want to know results of matches. I don't want to know any of it. If there's anything I want to know maybe the name of a move, so that if the wrestler has a specific name for that, I'm going to usually do my research so I can have things to talk about, unless there's some other things they specifically want me to talk about. But I don't want to know finishes. I don't want to know any of that stuff. I need to be authentically surprised so that the call that you hear is from an authentic place.
That is, whoo, boy. You know what? You're gonna make me drop a sound effect for that bomb right there. You just dropped. Woo! Talk about a gem, ladies and gentlemen. Now that right there.
Because here's the thing, I'm not an actor.
Come on.
This is real for me.
Yeah.
So for you to get a real reaction, I don't want to play a role. You know, this is me. This is my name. This is the name on the birth certificate. This is who I am. You know, so for me, for it to be authentic, I need not know what's going to happen. No.
That is a great trait to have. You know, now there are some people who probably can, you know, obviously learn results, learn what's going on, and still present it in a authentic way, right? Sure. As you said, like an actors kind of way. But I actually feel like that would be a style I would go with too. I mean, it's kind of like watching a movie, right? You know,
Hmm.
when you're watching a movie, you know, you're not gonna go watch Spider-Man, No Way Home, and after hearing all the spoilers of, oh yeah, guys, all three Peter Parkers from each Spider-Man generation has shown up in one
Right.
film,
Right.
and they're teaming up together. Like, you don't want to know that. You
Right.
want to wait, find out for yourself, see the raw reaction that you're going to give yourself,
Hmm.
so that like, wow, you get your own thoughts, and then you get your own form of commentating from, oh, I didn't really like the way this was presented and how he was entered in here,
Hmm.
or yeah, this and that, XYZ. So that's a great trait to have. So, guys, girls, all my commentators, future aspiring commentators out there, take this as a free sample class, if you will. So, by the compliments of Mr. Gerard Bonner, and of course, your host,
And
Dwayne
to
Diggy Jr.
and to that point, I will also say learn what works for you, because that works for me. It doesn't work for my broadcast partner, Brandon Benefield.
Mm,
He has to know. Like he works better that way. So you have to figure what's gonna work best for you. Like if if you think you're gonna be lost, then find out whatever you need to find out. Just figure out which style works for you.
I love it, man. Honestly, that right there is really great advice to take in. It's one of those things that, much like when I had Miss Miranda on the show, giving me the aspect of the backstage interviewer or
Hmm.
the ring announcer, right? How those jobs are different from each other and how that goes. It's great and interesting to hear the commentator's perspective, because a lot of times people usually look at that job, much like that of a referee, because even with referees, people used to think that was the easiest job out of all of it. And it's like, no, it's not. You got to do a lot of communicating with the talent. You got to do communicating with, you got to sell yourself as a
Hmm.
referee, right? So you're part of the show just as much as the wrestlers are. And it's not as easy as it may look, but commentary is the same way. People hear like, oh yeah, I mean, I could do that, sit ringside and talk about, what I'm looking at, XYZ, put some character on it. Like, yeah, but that's only half of it. Like, as you mentioned, you're a researcher, so you got to research some facts. Your style can be, oh, did you know that so and so came from da 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 and has a background in shoot style wrestling, da 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 da, right? Then you got your breakdown commentator that knows move for move for move for move, like a
Right.
Mauro Ronaldo, like
Hmm.
where you can tell you the history of this suplex, or how deadly this move can be, or
Right.
maneuvers like this and submissions like that, right? And really educate you. Then
Hmm.
you've got your animated colored commentator who can literally hit you with punchline after punchline after punchline,
Right.
and literally just hit you left and right, where you're like, man, they're just hilarious and yet so great. Kind of like somebody that people love nowadays in a current aspect, Pat McAfee.
Sure.
Everybody
He's amazing.
loves how he's able to do that, right? He's
Hmm.
so animated, all in face standing on top of the
But
table.
he's another one. He doesn't want to know what happens. They don't tell him anything.
Love it.
So there's something to be said for not knowing. Again, there are folks who need to know, but others, you get it really natural, and that's what you get. Yeah.
Come on. See, so that just goes to show, this is why I love all aspects of the wrestling business. Personally, this is what made me create this platform, to bring people from different worlds and realms of wrestling, because you have a lot of casual viewers and you have hardcore viewers. Even the hardcore viewers are educated from this show, because there are things they didn't even know, because maybe they're just hardcore fans where they know what they hear in the news and the gossip sites and different things like that. But to actually get a deep interlook, like deep inside, and really see like, wow, this is what it's like, pulling the curtain a little bit back to see the life of a commentator, a life of a referee, a life of a backstage ring announcer, or ring announcer, or anybody, what I'm saying? And you're like, wow, this is some stuff, a cameraman. We've even had camera people on the show talking about
Hmm.
the aspects of being able to shoot and angles you got to shoot from. So all that to be said, man, this is just amazing information to process. And Mr. Bonner, like how long, the question is, how long do you see yourself in this field so far? I mean, we see you love wrestling, and we know with all of the different avenues you have going on and have been doing for so long, how long do you realistically see yourself in the color commentator's bag of things?
I love this job. I absolutely love it. I mean, I see myself in it for a long time.
Yeah.
I really, really do. The cool thing is there isn't really a shelf life for it. As long as you keep yourself fresh and you become a trusted voice, you can have a really long shelf life as a commentator. So for me, I look to be doing this for quite some time. Yeah,
I love it, man. I love it. And it really shows, and I agree. It's definitely one of those career fields that you can have a great time. Like color
totally.
commentators, probably more so than anyone. I know wrestlers, they say have a lot of fun, but of course, there's the physical aspect too.
Sure.
Like, it has its limitations depending on, how you take care of yourself and different things like that. Or just what, how safe you are, with what
Right.
you do in the ring.
Right.
But man, it seems like when you're on the commentators table, I mean, as you mentioned, we see Jim Ross literally still going after so many
Right.
years of
Right.
doing this, right? You see from time to time Jerry Lawler hop on there and do
hmm
his thing a little bit. You've seen so many different people get on there. I think even one time, it was a while back, but even one time Vince McMahon reminded people of when he
hmm
was a commentator, and kind of,
Totally.
modern day got on the commentators table a little bit.
Totally.
We saw Triple H do it during the pandemic, you know what I'm saying? Where it was like,
Right.
wow, you could do this if you wanted to. Guys
hmm
who are current talents like The Miz or somebody do commentary, and you're like, man, you're a natural commentator. You could do this if you want after you
Yeah.
wrestle, So it's like the avenues are crazy for this lane. Who knows, Mr. Bonner? Maybe one day, I don't know. That's a business idea for an off-air conversation, but who knows? Knowing that there's no school for a commentator out there, who knows, man? Maybe we could trailblaze a little bit here. I don't know. Maybe we can
Possibly.
maybe we can set that up. Get somebody, get some just some educators and tap into some of the resources and get some people to be special guest teachers for the day or the evening, and get a crash course going for people. You want to be a
Good thought.
commentator? Let's get you signed up for the school. But we'll see. But one thing I definitely want to ask is, do you have a dream list of people you would like to guest commentate with in the future that are in the business? This could be past, present, even if you want to go into the past of some of the people who aren't living anymore these days. Who's like a dream list for you of people you would love to color commentate with?
Probably top three would be Jim Ross,
Okay.
uh, Tony Schiavone,
Mm.
and Mauro Ronaldo. And I
Ooh,
think an honorable mention would either be Pat McAfee or Corey Graves. Yeah,
that is, ooh, boy, that's a solidified list right there, man. You're
yeah,
telling me.
that would
My
be
goodness.
bucket list for sure.
Whoo, yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. It's a lot of things you could play off on that right there. You know what I'm saying?
hmm
I'm gonna throw one in there, and I'm gonna even say a lot of people don't like this. I don't know why. I love this. I love Byron. Byron, to me, I feel is very slept on. I feel like Byron
Okay,
Saxton's a slept on commentator, man. Like that guy really brings aspects to it, and I feel like he'd be a guy I definitely wouldn't mind playing commentating. He even lets people like egg on him from time to time. You can
sure.
literally talk about him in a funny way and like elevate yourself in your own commentary by making fun of him, and it
Yeah,
works. You know what I'm saying? Like he plays it off so well, and I
right.
think that's one thing that's slept on about his style, like the fact that he can educate you, right? And he gives that clear cut presentation, but like the
hmm
fact that he's willing to just be the joke of a joke. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like,
yeah,
oh, that wrestler gets more girls in a week than you ever do in a day, Byron. You know what I'm
right,
saying? Like to say something like that. And he's like, what do you mean, Corey? What are you talking about?
right.
I get girls. Like he can play that off so well. And I think that's an underrated aspect for somebody like that. So,
I agree.
definitely for me, Taz would definitely be one. As I mentioned, he's definitely somebody I respect and admire as a commentator. He'd be one that I would love to dream commentate with. I'm just gonna throw this in there also because I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. So why not? Jerry King Lawler. Of course,
Sure.
I'd like to definitely commentate with that guy because why not? I mean, give me the attitude, old school prime Jerry King Lawler one time, man. I think it'd be a great little aspect, man.
Yeah.
I think it would work pretty well. So um, right off top, definitely Corey Graves is a good one. I'll tell you, John Bradshaw Layfield, man. I
Ah,
definitely would color commentate with that guy too, man. Let
Baby
me
Ellis
tell you.
good.
Let me
He's
tell
good.
you. Oh, and my real slept on. This is probably my final one that I would say is my slept on one of the week, just because to me, I always enjoyed him on commentary because I loved he created his own catchphrases essentially. I think you know where I'm going with this, but I have to go with the five-time WCW champion, ladies and gentlemen, Booker T. I definitely would love to commentate with Booker T because that
Yeah.
guy, I'm telling you, man, he had all kinds of just funny catchphrases and he knew how to do it with his facial expressions too. So definitely Booker T is in mine as well as somebody I would love to get with and commentate with. So yeah, man, I'd say we got some really interesting lists going on right there with that for sure.
Indeed.
Uh,
Indeed.
so before I let you go, then, Mr. Bonner, we call this thing a show. I'm gonna do one more fun thing for you. This is another
Okay.
fun thing. This is a commentator's edition because I've never really done one of these with a commentator yet. So I have a segment. The fans love this segment. They know it. It's called Babyface or Heel. Now, again, like I said, you're naturally what I would call a babyface, but
Okay.
this is a chance for you to explore some of the heel aspects of your character if you want.
Okay.
Basically, I'm gonna throw some scenarios out there, a subject, if you will, and you have all accounts. It can be wrestling related or non-wrestling related.
Okay.
You get to decide if you're gonna go heel on this subject or if you're gonna go babyface on this subject. All right.
Okay.
So
Okay.
without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the mix. So, first scenario that I'm gonna throw your way. This Johnny Depp and Amber Heard nonsense going on in trial these days. Tell me, sir, uh, are you going heel by siding with Amber Heard in this? Are you going babyface and siding with Johnny Depp, who seems to be the person that everybody's rooting for in this situation? Or, some people on the show tend to go the tweener route, and they're kind of half and half, and you're just like, both of these people are nuts. I don't know. Where are you going? Where's your stance on this whole subject matter?
On this one, I'm in the middle. I'm totally in the middle. It's too crazy to go either way. It's in the middle. They both have their own things going on. I'm in the middle of this
Out
one.
in the middle. Hey man, I get it. I totally understand because it's definitely tough to decide, trying to
Mhm.
figure out, okay, well, which one of y'all are right and which one of y'all are wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know. So it's like, all right, cool, fair enough. I respect that. All right, so scenario number 2 is something that is recently going on in the headlines and has been making a whole lot of noise. So we'll get a little controversial with this one. And I'm gonna say, are you going babyface or heel on Sasha Banks and Naomi's decision to drop the tag team titles and walk out during just before Monday Night Raw last Monday aired live, and how WWE has been handling things with this matter since it's happened by removing them from the merchandise side of things, removing them off the intros, and basically essentially like writing them off, blackballing them and suspending them indefinitely for as a consequence. Are you babyface or heel on this entire subject matter?
I guess it depends on what we consider babyface and heel, but for me,
Hmm.
I'm with Sasha and Naomi on this.
Hmm.
I will briefly say I think it is important to be able to stand up for what you believe in.
Hmm.
And I just feel like we still don't know the whole story.
Hmm.
But for Sasha and Naomi to actually walk out,
Hmm.
it was not trivial. I'll just say that.
See, and that's a great educated answer that you gave right there. See, that was smart. It didn't go controversial. One, see, it's not by all means a controversial show at all. We don't do that here. We don't do stuff for the juicy of the matter, but we do it more so to really just kind of pick brains a little bit on where people are in these days, because we know the internet is the internet. So we like to find out from real perspectives here. So let's see if I got another good one for you. Yes. Are you gonna go babyface or heel for the upcoming Black Panther 2 movie as it gets ready to drop? Are you babyface or heel on the fact that we still haven't heard much about what they're gonna do with Chadwick Boseman's passing, as far as where they're going directional wise with Black Panther, the character as a whole?
Again, it depends on what we're calling babyface and heel. I think on this one, it's tough. You could make a lot of arguments about, do you revise the character? Do you not? But this might be controversial to some. My thought is, we've had different people play Batman. We've had different people play Spider-Man. The character Black Panther is what really made the huge difference, and the fact that we saw someone that looked like us as a superhero. I don't believe that the character should pass just because the actor passed. So for me, I feel like if it is a role, we've seen roles reprised by other people. It happens on the soap operas every day. Somebody leaves and now so-and-so is now playing the role of whomever. I believe that the role should live because I think it represented more than just Chadwick Boseman. So I think the character should live.
I like that. That is a very great answer that I don't think a lot of people bring up enough, because this is our only Black Panther. And I realize that a lot of people are like, man, you can't replace Chad. Like, that's Chad. He made that role and he did it so well, and he did.
But he did, but it was a character before him. It was in the comic books. It was represented in other spaces before him. So I think, if you're going to not reprise that role because he's not here, then everything else he acted in, you can't ever reprise that either. So
that is true.
No more Jackie Robinson movies, no more Ali, like none of that. Can't do it.
No, yeah, that makes total sense, and everything gets remade. When you think about it, I mean, the way I see it, kind of like how you said, if Chadwick is replaced, quote unquote, he's not really replaced. If you really did love him as T'Challa, and he's the guy in your mind that will always be T'Challa, cool. You can always will have that one forever etched in stone to watch and remember Chadwick from, in case you don't like the new replacement, right? But generally, sometimes you can come across someone new and they do just as good of a job as Chadwick, or almost as good of a job, to where you may still say, Chadwick's still number one in your book, but they did well enough to carry the role on. So, like, I agree. That's a good spin and take on that right there. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's just something, for the nuggets a little bit right there. So yeah, all that being said, man, let's see. Babyface or heel? We got one last one for you there. Babyface or heel when it comes to the fact that we're about to possibly see the Golden State Warriors one more time in an NBA Finals? Are you babyface or heel on Golden State giving everybody one more good run to win a championship again?
I'm for it. Babyface. Absolutely. I mean, we can't be mad all the time. People were happy LeBron's out, so then let Golden State do their thing.
Let them do that thing. Hey, let our faith-based brother Steph Curry go in there and get one more.
Let him do it.
Why not? All things are possible, right? I can do all things. It says it right on the shoe. You know what I mean? Y'all know. Well, that about concludes it for the Babyface or Heel segment. Mr. Gerard Bonner, you are amazing. a dope individual inside and outside the ring, man. Personally, I'm so glad we could bring you on the show as I promised. It was fun. And we're definitely going to be connecting and talking. You are always welcome back on the show for anything you want to do, regular reviews, different things like that. I try to not do that on this show usually with the reviews, but who knows? Maybe like we got Double or Nothing coming up. I mean, who knows? I might try to do a big review show after Double or Nothing ends, and we'll probably bring you back on. And, I'm sure the people would love to hear your voice again and get your thoughts, especially with being someone who does commentating for a living. I'd love to get your thoughts on certain matches from the Double or Nothing card and what you expect. So we'll talk into that, see what we can set up for the people. Maybe we'll get that for y'all running so y'all can actually tune in with us on that one. That being said, Mr. Bonner, please tell the people where they can find you and where and how they can support you and what you do as a brand.
Awesome. You can find me on the socials at Bonnerfide, Bonnerfide. That's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all those places. I'm there. Also, you can check out our podcast. It's called The Faction. And you can find us on Spotify, Apple, all those places, and follow us at The Faction Show. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Also, check out what we're doing at Southern Honor Wrestling, where we've got a ton of great things happening. First Friday every month at the Action Building. Great things happening there. Follow us at Southern Honor Wrestling. Check out the podcast at SHW Pod as well. And then you can check out my own merch. I've got my own store on ProWrestlingTees.com, ProWrestlingTees.com/Bonnerfide. Brand new shirt called Bet on You. I totally believe that you've spent a lot of time believing in a lot of other people. You have been supporting a lot of other people. It's time to take that same energy and bet on you. So the whole shirt is there in two different colors, ProWrestlingTees.com/Bonnerfide. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I appreciate it.
Man, listen, brother, you are so welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Y'all already know, man. First and foremost, I just want to thank you guys and girls, all of y'all, everybody in the wrestling world, and even my casuals who probably don't even watch wrestling at all. They just listen because they're interested in the show for any reason, or they like the personality I bring and the people that I bring it with, or maybe you're just supporting me because you know me personally as Dwayne or Highlight Reel, however you see it. Either way, man, thank y'all so much for tuning in and always supporting every episode that drops. Shout out to my OTS Media Co. family. Make sure you're following the brand first and foremost, OTS Media Co. We are all over the place. You can follow it on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook at OTS Media Co. We have plenty of shows under the brand, under the platform, where we have things that cover from sports and film and TV, music. Shout out to fans just coming back, where it's a versus show, versus battle, where we take artists and have them go head to head. If you're a fan of that artist, you represent this artist, and you represent another artist, y'all go forth and battle. But it's now rebranded itself a little bit, and they also do the battles, but now they do discussions. Check out the latest episode where they review the Kendrick Lamar album, and they talk about the Big Steppers versus Mr. Morale. So, kind of check that out and, get at a listen and see where your thoughts on from that album right there. But also, most importantly, man, thank you so much for supporting me, the Life's a Botch podcast, man. Y'all know I'm always going to bring guests on here. I'm always going to find ways to be unique with the show and try to get y'all something different, man. I could easily do the review every week thing. I could do a lot of different things like that, but I try to make this unique for y'all, enjoyable, fun, and exciting. So thank y'all so much, man. We are on the road to 75 episodes now. That's the next milestone. And then from there, go from 75 to 100 and just keep on going strong from there, because y'all know this show won't never stop. I may not always get these to y'all every single week like I want to, but there's so much going on for me in a good way, between the music, now branching off into the wrestling world some more beyond the podcast, things I'll let y'all in on pretty soon as they unfold. But right now, we just still doing this podcasting thing, baby, and making everything work. So as always, make sure you follow the Life's a Botch podcast at Life's a Botch podcast on Instagram. Or if you'd like to follow me, the artistry, Highlight Reel, you can follow at Highlight Life, HILITE Life. If you want to see, shout out to the freestyle I just posted to Johnny P's Caddy. A lot of people have really been reacting to it. They love it, man. We're going to bring more freestyles. We're definitely going to bring you more promos as well for the TikTok, for the Instagram reels, all kind of stuff, man. We're working on that. So look out for some cool promos. You never know who we may talk about, shout out. I don't know, just different things like that. Working on the promo skills, y'all. Working on the promo skills because your boy gonna be a mouthpiece for somebody. Just trust me. Just wait on it. We're gonna be a mouthpiece for somebody sooner than later. But in the meantime, thank y'all so much for your love and your support. And as always, I need y'all right now, wherever you at, throw up them 2 sweet signs with me, baby, and give it one big fat too sweet. Peace, baby. You already know. Until the next time, we out. Peace.